Welcome to the Two Blokes Chatting radio show on 94.7 The Pulse. Music, interviews, news, and, well, Two Blokes Chatting. Now, here are the two blokes.
That's you too, and a beautiful day. It's a beautiful day in Sydney as I look out the window. 15 degrees here, very drizzly and wet in Geelong where it's 11 degrees. It looks like it's a sunny but overcast day in Mildura, Rob Cameron. I think that's where we're heading off to.
It is indeed. Our Mildura correspondent, we'll call her Katrina Umback. Good morning from up there in sunny Mildura.
Good morning, Rob and Neil. How are you both?
Going pretty well.
A little bit disappointed that you didn't call him Ron, but apart from that, doing very, very nicely indeed.
She knows better. You've probably got a reasonable day today. I think it was forecast that it was going to be raining everywhere in Victoria except Mildura when I saw on the report last night. Is that the case?
Well, I'm trying to get my washing done now because I believe this afternoon it's going to rain all afternoon.
Oh.
But, yeah, it's sunny at the minute, but still very brisk.
Yeah, and it probably doesn't ever really get cold up there during the day. You have cold nights, don't you? You've got that sort of desert world up there where you have frosts and things which are a worry. We
had a couple of 2 degrees throughout the week in the evening and in the morning. But it was only 9 degrees or 8 degrees or so yesterday.
Well, a couple of days after the Geelong v Carlton game, a gentleman come home to Mildura and word got out, and all of a sudden no one cared about the weather. You had other issues that come to the town, which I guess many people were aware of were in the world, but never ever thought they'd be as close to you. But COVID is alive and well in the village. Yes,
it is. Unfortunately, we have 4 active cases in Mildura at the minute. I don't know how to say this. Thankfully, they're all contained within the family, but that sounds horrible, really thinking of the family because it is a family with young children and they are separated. The man with the initial infection was sent to Melbourne, so that the family is divided and the mum with the kids is on her own, cut off from her family support because they're obviously quarantining. So, yeah, it's a bit sad, but that's the reality of our world at the minute. And, yeah, the community is rallying around them.
So, Katrina, I think probably the difference that we detect, and part of the reason we want to have a chat to you about it, is that in a place like Melbourne or in Sydney, these are faceless people. You know, yes, there are 100 and something or other every day in Sydney, but there's somebody else. But in a place like Mildura, everybody knows everybody. While the people's names have not been announced, presumably a significant number of people know who the affected family is. It must be a really difficult circumstance around town.
Yeah, the rumour mill was alive on Sunday when it was announced, and Facebook feed was just littered with really unkind, angry, fearful comments. I at that point didn't know. I still don't know who the family is, and I know I'm choosing not to, but a lot of people were on the hunt to find out who it was. In some of my Facebook groups, I was sent messages saying, it's such and such and this is what's happened, and it got that bad that I actually took to my own Facebook page to just write a post to remind people that this man is human. He probably has a family and there's more to this than we know, so choose your words wisely and just be kind. But yeah, it's come. I still don't know who the family is, and personally it's not that I don't want to support them, I prefer not to. It just keeps it
at arm's length sort of thing.
Yeah, easier to deal with, and I can offer support in a generic way to the family and for the community as well, because when someone gets infected, and as you said, Neil, you don't really see it in Sydney or Melbourne because they are a bit faceless, but everyone was connected in some way, you know, the schools, the cafes, the recreation and the sporting facilities that these people may have interacted with before they knew they had COVID. So all of that was shut down even more, and people have been also quarantining themselves for 14 days. So, those people, people of people, and the things that they're having to go through, like some people having to get emergency payments because they have to quarantine and they can't work. Our hospital staff, because the person presented to hospital, 45 staff members had to go into quarantine for 14 days, which then left our hospital understaffed. So we had to get nurses and other supports from other health services in the area, and I think down from Bendigo, or up from Bendigo, I should say.
Katrina, at this particular time, the community's somewhat divided in lots of different ways. Some still think, small percentage, that COVID's a hoax. There's others that are aware that it exists, but they're not fearful of it because they think it's just like the flu, and I get the flu every year. There's the anti-vaxxer group. There's all sorts of little fragments from the whole thing. But from your friend and connected Mildura people group, has there anyone changed attitude now that it's arrived on your doorstep?
I've kind of been locked in a bubble, Rob. I haven't heard anyone change their attitude because of that there's a real presence of it here in our community now. What I've probably seen is people, it reinforce their attitude or their opinion of it. They see it as a moment to I'll say, grandstand or preach about what it is that they think is right or wrong. I haven't seen, and really it's only through social media or some, online work interaction that I've had, I haven't seen anyone sway to the other side.
Yeah, I've found actually that people who have a strong opinion against the majority tend to double down on that opinion when things change. I agree,
and that's been my observation.
Yeah.
One of the things that we've spoken about in the past, and in fact our first interaction on the wireless was talking about health services in the region, and my understanding is that there has been some difficulty in getting a jab in the arm even if you wanted to in your town. Is that still the case?
Yeah, so when it was launched ages ago, when I'm in that 40 age bracket that we could go and get the jab.
So we? We're over 40.
I registered straight away with our local public health unit, and up until last week I still wasn't given an appointment because there isn't enough supply up here for the Pfizer jab. But luckily I found a private practice here in town that were taking on new clients. That's the other thing, a lot of private practices won't take on new clients, but they were to offer the jab. So I have an appointment in August, but this program was launched back in April, May, and it's taken me this long, and I've always wanted to get it, to actually get an appointment to have the vaccination. So there are those issues here.
So it's yep. Sorry, we talk at the same time. You go.
You go.
Okay. So now that there are injections up there, of course, that'll be a real shot in the arm for the economy, but we'll go past that. So I was keen to hear about a program that Mildura Regional Development launched last year when the lockdown or, the activity was going on, and I know that there was a bit of activity yesterday. Talk us through that one a little bit, because I think there's some regional towns around who could really benefit from that program.
Yeah, so a lot of our cafes got affected by the active COVID case, having been exposure sites, and they had to shut down. They couldn't trade. Some of them have now been able to come back up. So last year, Mildura Regional Development came up with an initiative to support the hospitality industry in Mildura, it's a big part of our industry in this neck of the woods, and it was called Fork It Local Friday. And it was like one of those little 1%ers that you could do to help our community come back stronger. And it was just, why don't you buy dinner from a local cafe tonight or a restaurant? Because a lot of them switched to that takeaway menu. So my boys and I did it last year. I think we sort of logged 6 weeks of it, and my boys loved it. We'd take it in terms of picking a different place, and we'd order a meal, and we'd share it on social media, and then we'd encourage other people to do the same, and it just got people talking and trying different places. And so this week I was thinking, well, because our community was hurting, and I thought, well, what's one thing that I can do to help? And I thought I'll try and bring back Fork It Local Friday. So last night the boys and I picked a cafe and we ordered in, plugged it on our social media, and there was, on my social media, not my boys' social media, and there were lots of people jumping in saying that, telling us about the restaurants or cafes that they'd picked and sharing their experience. And I just think it's a good way to build connection, but also to maybe put some money into those small hospitality businesses at this really crazy time.
I think the other thing that it does too is if you focus it on, say, Friday, then the cafe can say to their staff, right, we need 4 people in on Friday, rather than having 3 people standing around like a side soul that nobody ordered. Knowing when the demand is going to be a bit more focused, it means that they can actually staff it accordingly.
Yeah, yep. It's a very simple idea, and it has many benefits.
Katrina, the other thing that's big in your part of the world is the seasonal fruit industry you have up there, and the seasonal workers that come in. They've been under enormous pressure. Has that had a negative effect on your community, as well as the like an extra one on top of the COVID issues?
I'm not really versed in that area, but I've heard some chitter chatter that it's hard, to get the pickers.
Yep.
And a lot of local people won't do picking, whereas the backpackers, as they usually do, they love to go in, make their money, get out, and so they can move on to the next community. It's really hard to find those workers in our community, so we did rely on external people coming. Yeah.
So
I think
the locals are a bit picky. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, a bit picky about what they do. And it's a tough gig, particularly in the weather at the minute. Yeah,
it's certainly a tough gig in the middle of summer when it's 40 degrees and the oranges or the lemons or whatever it is you're picking at the time.
Bells of St Clemens.
Yeah, and the bells of St Clemens. It's interesting because it's a nice part of the world, and I hope a lot of people in capital cities at this particular stage are thinking of having changes to a rural environment, but up there, plenty of services and facilities and a good job situation. It's probably not a bad part of the world to go and live.
I'm a little bit biased, but I think it's one of the best places to live.
Yeah.
Apparently there's more sunny days there than the Gold Coast each year. Is that true?
Very true. You've done your research.
Either that or the representative of the tourist board that keeps coming on our radio program does.
Katrina, I'm just looking at your meals, and they look absolutely delightful. I've gone onto the social media platform, and that's a nice little family feast right there. It
was, and very affordable as well. So it's a good way to contribute to your community, even if it is only a 1%er. If everyone does it, as they say on the footy field, it all mounts up.
Well, that's it. I'm eating out tonight. You've inspired me.
Excellent.
Well, Katrina, we're coming up to the 11 o'clock news, weather, whatever we do at 11 o'clock, so we better let you go and do what you need to do. Hope get the washing in and dry in time. If not, move to Sydney where it's sunny and beautiful today.
I would, but my government don't open borders to me, so...
Oh, bloody government. They've already had a crack this morning. We'll leave them alone.
Katrina Umback up in Mildura. Thanks for joining us on Two Blokes Chatting. We'll chat soon.
Thanks for having me. Take care, guys.
Thanks, Katrina.